Hey guys, how's it going? It's HelpfulLockPicker here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over how key bitting can make a difference when it comes to picking a lock and making it a little bit more secure. As you can see, this key is going to be 818181 going across. This is a pretty aggressive key. What I'm going to do is get into more on how this can work in just a second. Please stay tuned. The first thing I'd like to get into is going to be the maximum adjacent cut specification, also known as MACS, M-A-C-S. And what I have in front of you here is a Blitz code card which I use to code cut my keys. So when you look at the card, it always gives a good amount of information, but on the Schlage key we're working on today, you can see the max is going to be equal to 7. So that means two adjacent cuts cannot be more than 7 apart. So when we take a look at the key that I showed earlier, you can see that this is going to be 818181. So that's going to be a 7 difference. This is the maximum cuts you can have adjacent to each other. This is going to be the most aggressive key, and what I'm going to do is show you why this key is more difficult than a flatter key. Alright, so let's see how our choice of key is going to impact our ability to keep our lock secured. So we have the 818181, which is going to have a 7 difference between each cut, and that's going to be MACS compliant. Now if you were to say do 8 in the difference, it's going to make a key that's going to be more difficult to insert, more difficult to take out, and it'll add to some undue stress to the key and the lock. But this key is compliant and works very well. So in order to illustrate my point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the plug out of this lock, and then we're going to take a quick look at how the key pins are affected by the bitting that we have today. So when we use our key, you can see that it's going to have all of the pins set flush at the shear line. So this is a great operating key. So this is certainly a key that's going to work well. Now, when you start to pick your lock, one thing you're going to need to be careful with is when you take a look here, you're going to see we're going to have an 8 followed by a 1. So it's going to be a long key pin followed by a short key pin. So it's going to be 818181. So that's going to make it very easy to overset the longer pins. So as you're lifting the short pin behind it, the shank of your pick is going to often start to lift up the long pin, and you're going to get into an overset very easily. So when I try to manipulate this lock, you can see I can hit the 8 very easily right here. But when I try to go back and hit this 2, look at what happens to the very first pin in 1. I'm starting to overset it. Here I can hit the 8 okay, but when I try to lift up that 4, look at what happens again. When I go all the way back and I try to lift up the 5, I can do that. And when I try to get the 6, look at how much we are starting to overset these pins. So this is going to be something that's going to make a lot of the low skill attacks much more difficult. You're going to have a much harder time when you go to rake this lock with a Bogota style rake, because you're going to start to have more oversets. So you're going to have a lot less success with this. The same thing if you try to use a snake rake, you're going to have more oversets. And also if you try to rock with a city or an L rake, you're going to have some issues as well. So one thing you can do to try to overcome this is one, tension very carefully so that you can try to set the pins and prevent the oversets. Another thing is you can try to use a little bit of a deeper hook if the keyway will allow it. So when you use a deeper hook, what's going to happen is you're going to just have a little bit more room to manipulate, and it can help. It's not going to always be perfect, but now I'm able to hit that 2 without really disturbing 1 all that much. And then I'm going to get 3, and then I'm going to try to get to 4. But this is going to be something that is more doable, and it's going to be something that's going to take practice. But learning to get around the key bitting is certainly a skill that's going to take time to develop. It is a very common thing to do when people are trying to design a lock, is that they want to put a key with a wide variation in the bitting like you can see here. A lot of people like to do a long cut in the second to last position with a short pin in the very last position, and sometimes they even like to put a spool just to make it a little bit more difficult. Now when you have a key that is flatter, say like this one here with less variation, you're going to be able to rake, rock, zip, and do all of the easier methods much easier. It can make single pin picking a little bit less difficult. So one thing you want to do is always just keep in mind that key bitting can make a difference, and it's going to be something that is going to affect your ability to get your locks open. But either way, guys, this is all that I have for you today. This has been a really quick video on just an example of how your choice of key can impact the security of your lock. This was a really fun video to make, and if you have any questions or suggestions, as always, please feel free to drop those right in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing. Every subscription makes such a big difference, and I just really look forward to seeing you in the next video, and thank you so much for checking this out.